Today's Mishnah learning is sponsored by Howard and Karen Shulman in memory of Irene Amamik, Tzipora Chaya Bat Zorach, and in memory of Sherry Shulman, Gveret Sarah Leah Bat Avraham Dov. Thank you so much. To sponsor a day of learning, click on the QR code or take a picture, use the QR code, or click on the link. Make it a great day. Okay, we're on Sanhedrin, Perek Yud, Mishnah Aleph. This is probably one of the more famous chapters in all of Shas. It's called Perek Chelek. Okay, it's the 10th chapter, and it's a chapter that focuses primarily, especially in the Gemara, on Agadah. On Agadah is, as opposed to Halacha. The law, Agadah is legend, Musar, Jewish theology, all of those things. It's called Perek Chelek. Okay, we mentioned before, so I just want to give a little brief introduction. We mentioned before that all of Masechet Sanhedrin, the idea of capital punishment for spiritual crimes, is based upon the notion and the assumption and the understanding that there's that existence is not just this existence, that in this world, but rather there's something called the Olam Haba. There's the world to come. That a person's existence is an eternal existence, or could be an eternal existence, and that our time in this world is only part of our greater existence, and that our existence here is to become closer to God and to reach a level of permanence or connection to God in the true world, in the Olam Haba. Another word for Olam Haba, the world to come, is Olam Ha'emet. And therefore, it makes sense to kill a person in this world if they are rooting their spiritual existence in this world. It makes sense to end this existence in order to give them eternal existence. All of that is the entire basis for the idea of capital punishment. I mean, otherwise, all you would do is the only time you would give capital punishment is if somebody is destroying society, you have to remove them from society, or you would have this idea of prisons. You notice there's no such thing as a prison we learned, other than the kippah, the prison you don't get out of. There's no such thing as prison, because a person is supposed to be in this world and live in this world. And if you can't function in society or in this world, then you can't function at all. So this idea of Olam Haba, Chazal, they learn it out, they extrapolate it, they describe it, and now they talk about the idea of Olam Haba because it's an important theological and ethical issue. I also want to point out, okay, chapter 10 is called Perek Chelek, it's Agadah, but I want to point out that chapter 11, okay, goes back to Eluhena Nichnakim. Remember, we learned Skila, you get Skila, Sreifa Hereg, and then you get Chenek. So, and in Shas, in the Gemara, and in the Yerushalmi, this chapter is the 10th chapter, meaning chapter 10 and chapter 11 are switched around. You should do a little research and try to figure out why that is. It's a very interesting phenomenon that in the Mishnah it's in one order, and in the Gemara it's in another order. Okay, so but we have to, the Mishnah begins. We'll just start the Mishnah and then I'll go to my introduction. All of Israel, they have a portion in the world to come. Shneimar, as it says, "Va'amech kulam tzadikim," a nation, they are all righteous. Le'olam yushu aretz, they will always inherit eretz. Okay, the land, the eternal land. Neitzer mata'ai ma'aseh yadai lehitpa'er. I wish my Hebrew were better. Neitzer, the flowering of my mata'ai, my plantings. Ma'aseh yadai, right, the actions of my hands, God's hands. Lehitpa'er, to be exalted. So, the Olam Yushu Aretz, they will always inherit that, and rabbis interpreted that to mean that they have Olam Haba. Now, in order to understand, what is this idea of Olam Haba? So I want to share with you, first of all, you should just know that obviously these are deep theological issues, which you can't resolve in a very short shir on the Mishnah. But, first of all, so you have to know that the Rambam wrote an extensive commentary called Hakdama the Perek Chelek. Okay, the introduction to Perek Chelek, worth learning on its own. Very long, extensive commentary, in which he writes, these are the foundations of our faiths. Very, very, very important. And then he goes through what other people believe. It's a pretty significant essay. He goes through what other people believe and what we believe and what some sages believe. And it's a matter of great debate. So I thought I would bring to you, so first, what is this idea of Olam Haba? According to the Bartanura, and then according to the Rambam, in very, very brief terms, obviously it's worth learning in greater detail. So the Bartanura says the following. Olam Haba, okay, everyone has Chelek Olam Haba. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I'm trying to make it a little bigger so you can read the Bartanura. Okay. I lost my place. Let's go to Perek Yud. Here we go. Okay, so the Bartanura says, sorry about that. Even people who got capital punishment due to their wickedness, they have a portion in the world to come. But Olam Haba Amor Khan, what is Olam Haba? Hu Olam Haba Achar Tchiyat HaMeitim. It is Olam Haba after the resurrection of the dead, Tchiyat HaMeitim. We believe in the resurrection of the dead. Ani ma'amin be'emunah shleima. We believe B'biat HaMashiach and Tchiyat HaMeitim. She'atidin lichiyot, that people will in the future, atid, in the future, lichiyot, become alive. And they will stand in their bodies and their souls eternal life. It's a physical existence that's eternal. Like the sun, the moon, and the stars. As the Gemara says, when people are resurrected, they don't go back to their dust. They don't die again. There's no eating, no drinking. Even though, meaning, according to the Bar Tanura, we return to a physical existence. We have bodies and souls, but no physical. You don't have physical needs. Ella, rather, tzadikim yoshvim, the righteous sit. Atrotehem beroshem, their crowns are on their heads. V'ne'anim miziv hashchina, and they benefit from basking in the light of the glory of God. Okay, but not everybody, the tzaddikim get a lot of light. Not everybody is equal. The greater you are, the more light you get. The smaller you are, the smaller you get. They have a portion. Everybody gets a portion. You don't get to decide which portion, how much of a portion you get. Okay? So that's the position of the Bar Tanura. I just here copied what is Olam Haba. I copied the Bar Tanura, okay? Because it's really, really important. What is Olam Haba? Okay, so Olam Haba is Tchiyat HaMeitim, right? After Tchiyat HaMeitim, Chayim Gufaniyim, like physical life without eating or drinking. Okay? That's what the Bar Tanura says. The Rambam has a very different position. I just copied the synopsis of the Rambam in the language of the Kahati. The Rambam says the following. Olam Haba hu an Olam HaNeshamot haba achar hamav. Here, I just copied it from the Kahati. Okay? It's the world of the spiritual after death. She'en bo guf ugviyah. There is no body or gviyah form. V'lo tei tchiyat hagufot ela liyemot haMashiach. We do believe in Tchiyat HaMeitim, but Tchiyat HaMeitim is the time of Mashiach. She'en ben yemot haMashiach ba'olam hazeh ela sheyibud malchut. The Rambam says, listen, there's Yemot HaMashiach, okay? Yemot HaMashiach is when there is resurrection of the dead, and then people come back and they live their lives, and it's regular, normal existence. You're not sitting around and basking the glory of God, but rather it's regular existence. But the only difference is there's no Shiobud Malchiot. We're not subjugated by the nations of the world. There's independent Jewish existence. So you have to use all of your regesh hachushim, your physical senses, for the physical body. But a person would merit to worship God with happiness and good-heartedness. That's not true in the Olam Haba. When Yemot HaMashiach are over, then there's only nefashot bilvad, spirits, only spiritual life. You don't need your physical tools, physical existence. Who needs them? Because in Olam Haba, there is only hana'a ruchanit nitzchit, eternal physical eternal spiritual benefit or pleasure. So the Rambam says there's two steps, as opposed to the Bar Tanura we said is one step. Olam Haba is Tchiyat HaMeitim, which is physical life without eating or drinking. The Rambam says no. First, there's Yemot HaMashiach and Tchiyat HaMeitim. Right? Mashiach comes, resurrection of the dead, we all live our lives, unbelievable. We're almost there. All we need is the Beit HaMikdash. We're pretty much there. Shlav Bet, second step, Lachar Yemot HaMashiach, after Mashiach is over, it's a Havaya Ruchanit Nafshit, in my words, okay, it's a spiritual existence, Lalo Gashmiyut Klal, with no Gashmiyut at all. Okay, I know I'm going long, but I'm sorry, I spaced out. I'm looking at the wrong keyboard. Now we got to go back to the Mishnah. It's a long introduction, but it's worth it, I think, in this case. Says the Mishnah, Kol Yisrael Yeshem Chelek L'Olam we read Shneimar B'Amech Kulam Tzadikim Nolam Yushu Aretz. Your nation are all righteous. They will inherit the world. Neitzer Mata'ai Ma'aseh Adad Yitpaer. The flowering of my plantings, the doing of my hand, Yitpaer, to be exalted. But remember, we just said everyone gets a portion in the world to come. Not everyone. A bunch of people don't have Chelek L'Olam Haba. Elam she'elam Chelek L'Olam Haba. Who doesn't get a portion in the world to come? If a person says there is no resurrection of the dead from the Torah, or the Ein Torah min hashamayim, the Torah is not from the heavens, and God did not give us the Torah. The apikoros, and someone who's an apikoros. What the heck is an apikoros? Okay, if you don't say there's no tchiyat hametim. If you deny tchiyat hametim, you don't get tchiyat hametim. Apikoros shemivazeh tamidei chachamim, someone who denigrates tamidei chachamim. That's what the Gemara says. Okay, or the Kahati says, okay, if someone desecrates the Torah. Or, okay, the Kahati says, okay, someone who denies the existence of God or his unity, someone who denies prophecy, someone who denies Torah Shabbat Peh, and someone who is mevazeh tamoed. These are all listed in the Gemara. Someone who is mevazeh the holidays, someone who is mechalel kachim, someone who's over averod biyad rama. All of these things are apikorsim, and they don't have a portion of the world to come. So now, if we went from every Jew has a place to the Olam Haba, and then we said, oh, by the way, but an apikoros doesn't. How many Jews nowadays would you say believe in Torah, believe in prophecy, believe in Torah Shabbat Peh in the oral tradition, don't desecrate the holidays, okay? Don't commit sins. Rabbi Akiva says, Afa korei bisfarim achitzoniyim. Even the people someone who reads external books, v'halochesh al hamaka, someone who whispers on a makkah, on a wound. V'omer, and he says, kol hamachala asher santi b'mitzrayim lo asim alecha ki ani Hashem rofecha. And he says the words, all the machala, all the sickness that I placed you in Egypt, I won't place on you because I am Hashem your God. Even if somebody uses whisperings. What is it? So what are these sifraim chitzoniyim? So you're hoping that you follow the Bartenura because it says sifrei minim. Apikorsu, sifrei the books of the apostates, like the books of Aristotle Hayavani and his friends. Oh, but he says, I'm hoping it's not a Bartenura. Excuse me. If you read external books of the non-Jewish kings, and poems and divrei cheshek and things of yearning, things of wasting of time. You waste your time, you get no chelek la'olam haba. So the kahati is that's pretty extreme. If you say sifreim chetzeyo chitzoniyim, most people say sifrei minim. The Bartenura says, yeah, it's also time wasters. Abba Shaul says, even someone who pronounces the name of God, Yud Hey Vav Hey, by its letters. So we started with Kol Yisrael. Everyone has Chelek L'Olam Haba, and then he's like, except this guy and that guy and that guy. You really don't want to be in the list of the people that don't have a Chelek L'Olam Haba, because if you don't have a Chelek L'Olam Haba, I think that's a pretty frightening thing. We'll stop here. I went way long, but it's a really important Mishnah to understand and to learn because it's a foundation. And take the time. Oh, I have to point out. Yesterday I was in the Hebrew. I mentioned the Rambam Pirush Mishnayot. Yesterday I was at the Hebrew Museum, in the Israel Museum. They have an exhibit on the Rambam, and they have a book that was edited, the book of Mishnah Torah that was copied and edited and signed, Hogam Sifri, signed by Ani Moshe Rabbi Maimon. You can, if you live in Israel today, see the actual signature of the Rambam himself. I'm dedicated on learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Have a great day.